Happily Married Woman. It's Dr. Siobhan here. Got to make sure my shirt is, right on camera. Happy Saturday. It's Saturday at the time that I am doing this live stream. So hello, whenever you happen to be catching it, especially if you're catching it on a replay. So I hope you've had a good weekend so far. I wanted to just come on real quick and talk about some common things that as I continue to have conversations with women and couples that are sort of in a rut or in a tough place in their marriage, I wanted to share 3 issues that are likely causing whatever other things you're experiencing in your marriage. So it's sort of like, the communication problems and the constant bickering and arguing and all of that stuff are symptoms of more underlying issues that are going on that maybe you're aware of or maybe you haven't really thought of in the way that I'll present them. And the reason it's so important to understand what's really underneath some of the things going on in your marriage is so that you can focus your attention on the right things. A lot of times when you're feeling like your marriage is falling apart or you're experiencing challenges, it just seems like everything's coming at you from all different directions, and you sort of don't even know where to begin to start repairing some of the damage that has accumulated over the months, years, and decades even of being together. And so I wanted to come on today to talk about the 3 most common issues that are putting strain on your marriage. Or that could potentially put a strain on your marriage. If you're in a great place, then fantastic. But I want everyone to sort of just be aware of these things so you can sort of call a thing, as Iyanla Vanzant would say, and then you can know where to direct your attention first, right? Many things need to be addressed when marriages aren't going right, but I want you to have an efficient process, right? My role as a marriage coach is to give you the tips, tools, strategies, resources you need so that you don't sort of go around in circles trying to fix something over here and then have something else leak over here. I want you to have sort of the quickest route. Consider me sort of like your GPS to how to fix your marriage. And so here are 3 of the most common issues that are sort of operating in the background of a lot of marital issues that couples face. So you ready? I hope so. I hope that you're ready. So the first one is issues of perception. And that has to do with how you see your husband, how he sees you, the story you tell yourself about his behavior, his way of being, the story he tells himself about who you are and how you're being. So we have this sort of background record that is on repeat. We have this story that we create, and as women, we can be incredibly dramatic, incredibly colorful with the stories we tell ourselves. And so whenever couples have this issue of perception, it's because there's this underlying thought about the other person. Hi, Katie from Atlanta, Georgia. We've got a really big Atlanta group coming in, and they've been asking for me to make a trip to Atlanta. So hopefully, Katie, I'll get to meet you one day in the future. But again, so we have this story going on all the time in the back of our mind. And our husband is the main character, right? He can be the villain or he can be the hero. And when we begin to see our husband as sort of the villain, as someone that has all these faults, as someone that maybe isn't for us in our mind, as our enemy on some occasions, a lot of women feel like their husbands just wake up pushing their buttons, trying to get them upset, trying to do the things that annoy them and frustrate them. Not so. But in our minds, right, in our story, when we have these issues of perception, that's how we see him. We see him as going to reconnect. There we go. We're back. All right. So, when you have that view of him, you begin to think about him in ways that confirm that, right? So it's almost like you develop this supporting cast of thoughts and interpretations of his behavior to prove your point that he is fill in the blank with whatever, you know, descriptor you have for your husband when you're not seeing him in the best light. And so issues of perception are incredibly dangerous because they're pervasive. They're sort of seep through every experience you have, every interaction you have. It's always in the background. And that's why a lot of times people have communication issues. And I can teach you all the appropriate communication skills in the world. If you haven't addressed that underlying issue of perception, of how you're seeing the person that you're talking to, then you're not going to be motivated to use those, you know, wonderful, you know, kind and diplomatic ways of communicating. And so issues of perception, super, super important to address because they put an incredible strain on your marriage, and then they sort of filter out into all the other things that may be going on, which leads me to issue number 2, which is issues of connection. And so this happens again when you begin to see each other differently, that the person you fell in love with, all of the qualities that came so easily to mind that were wonderful about your husband are now sort of muted by all of his shortcomings, all of his mistakes, all of the ways that he's let you down and disappointed you. And soon you begin to develop connection issues where you don't really want to be around him. You know, I can think of times where, especially when my husband and I were first dating, I would say he is my favorite person in the world to be around, right? I would like not go out with my friends, or I would come home early from whatever I had to do just to spend time with him. And there were points in our marriage, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, where it was like, no, like, I actually don't want to hang out with you. Like, I'd rather be by myself, or I'd rather go, you know, out and do something else that doesn't involve you. And that is a crummy place to be. It's an awful place to be, and you feel guilty about it too, because you're like, wait a minute, this is my husband, I should want to spend time with him. But soon, you know, when you have those perception issues, you don't want to be around them. And so it creates this distance, and then guess what? You develop your own set of interests, your own activities, your own things that you like to do by yourself. He does the same, right? Because at the end of the day, we were actually created to be connected. And so when we can't connect with our spouses, we develop connections to other things or people in our lives, which creates separation and division. And that's exactly what the enemy, right, would have for us, especially for those of us whose marriages are united, you know, in the eyes of God. And so you get that disconnect, right? And you begin to sort of lead these parallel lives where you're coexisting. You're doing your thing over here, he's doing his thing over there, and soon you find that you just don't really have much in common. And then when it comes to communicating with each other, you like struggle for what to even talk about, right? Most of your conversations are probably around logistics of like, okay, I got to go here, we need to get the kids here, right? And you're missing out on that intimate conversation, that intimate connection with each other that you probably had when you were dating, because you were spending so much time getting to know each other, spending so much time finding the commonalities you had. And now, because you first started with issues of perception, now you've got these issues of connection that lead you to not wanting to spend time with each other, to not wanting to learn about each other, and to spend that quality time together, right? Just want to make sure I'm not missing any points. I got them all. Okay. And then there's issues of distraction, which means that other things are more important to you, or other things are more enjoyable to you than spending time with your spouse, focusing on your marriage, doing the things that you need to do to nurture that relationship and keep it strong. And you know, what ends up happening when you have those issues of distraction is that other things get your attention first, right? I know a huge, huge trigger in many marriages is the birth of a child. As women, we pour ourselves into our children 1,000%, which we should, right? Of course, they are 100% dependent on us. But I think we don't give our husbands the compassion, the understanding, and the grace, and recognize that he was number one for us before the children came, and now he feels like the low man on the totem pole. And I know as a mother myself of a 1 and a 3-year-old how much children can pull on you and stretch you and exhaust any energy that you have. You probably find yourself having very little left over to give to your husband. But I've also recognized that the best thing that we as mothers can do for our children is to nurture that relationship with our husbands, with their father, because more than anything, they need a stable and happy family. Yes, they need their diaper change. Yes, they need their food. But other than that, we've got to get better at carving out that quality time with our spouse. Not that it needs to be hours upon hours, but something, right? And it's really important, and I think we let it slide, and I think we give ourselves permission to let other things come first. Maybe it's not children for you. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe it's your family, right? I'm sure you can identify the things that sometimes get more of your attention and effort than nurturing the relationship with your husband, okay? So those are the 3. Issues of perception, issues of connection, issues of distraction. What do you do? Right? What do you do about it? You know me by now. I want to give you solutions. I want to give you some ideas for things to do to get out of that space, right? To stop putting that strain on your marriage in that way. And one of them is to change how you see each other, right? That's the solution to issues of perception. You got to change your mind about how you see each other. You got to look for the good. You've got to recognize what's going well. You got to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Easier said than done, but the truth is there are actual strategies and techniques for how to do that. So we don't often think of training our brains, right? But there are methods that are founded in neuroscience that really help you shift your thinking. But so often we get so caught up in that negative thinking that it becomes automatic to us and we feel like we can never change it. But I always say that, you know, a thought can come to you, a negative thought and perception of your husband can come to you. But what you do with it after it appears in your mind is 100% your choice. And so that thought can knock on the door of your mind, and you can either say, hey, I see you, I'm not interested, close the door and shift to another thought, or you can invite that negative thought in for coffee, tea, dinner, dessert, a nightcap, right? Sit down, have a full conversation, invite them over as a permanent resident in your mind where you're rehearsing and talking with it over and over and over again, right? So changing your mind, changing your perception can be done through a structured process. And that is something that I teach that actually works. And I know it works because I practice it myself. So that's number 1. For issues of connection, you've got to start having fun together. So when you're in a rut or there's a strain on your marriage, we have this tendency to just want to talk about the problems. We feel like if we talk about the problems, like we're going to find some resolution. And in some instances, that's true. In others, sometimes you just need a break from all of that. Sometimes you just need to start having fun together and do some of the things that you used to do when you first started dating. Infusing that fun sort of builds your love account. It builds your goodwill towards each other so that when you do turn your minds to having those more difficult conversations, you have sort of like a reserve of exciting things you've done together, fun things you've done together, ways that you've connected with each other in a more positive way to help you approach those conversations with a fresh set of eyes and heart towards each other. So you've got to start having fun together. Now, you may be wondering, like, where do we even start? Like, it's been so long since we've done anything fun together. That's why I do a lot of challenges personally. Sometimes you need those sort of outside of the box ideas that don't take a lot of time, but that can really help you have fun with it, right? I'm a particularly competitive person, so if you challenge me to do something, or I know for a certain set of days or weeks I have to do X, Y, and Z, then guess what? I'm gonna do it because when I commit to do something, I'm all in. Men are that way a lot of the times too, and many of us women have that competitive spirit or that commitment-oriented spirit, where if I say I'm signing up for a challenge, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my best foot forward. And it also provides like an inherent accountability, right? Usually, challenges are offered by someone. I offer challenges as part of many of my programs. And so guess what? I'm going to be checking in with you. Did you do what you were supposed to do? And there's just a little bit of fun about that, right? It's sort of like you never know what the next challenge is going to bring you. Like, I know when people do my challenges, they're like, oh my gosh, what's the next video going to be? Like, I had so much fun with this one. I can't wait till the next video. And it's like a little surprise, a little pop-up in your inbox that really just, it's sort of like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna do it because she said to do it and other people are doing it, so let's try this, right? So that's what I love about challenges. It's actually one of the first things I started doing when I started my business, and people have had a lot of success by just taking that break and having fun with each other, okay? And then the third thing is for this issues of distraction where you're not prioritizing and you just gotta schedule. And I know that sounds so like, oh, like work, but it doesn't have to be, right? Schedule fun, right? You schedule lunch dates with your friends. I've gotten to the point now where I schedule conversations with my friends. I'm like, okay, when's your commute home? Because I know that by 6 o'clock things are crazy in my house and I'm not gonna have time to talk to anybody. So let's talk on your commute, right? There's no more, let me just call and see if I can catch so-and-so on the phone, because our lives are busy with 1,001 things. And so if I've gotten into the habit of scheduling conversations with my friends, right, just check-in conversations, not even like meetings or official business, but just like, hey girl, how are you doing? And we have to apply that same principle to our marriages and to the time that we spend with our husbands. And a lot of times that may mean really creative things. I know when I work with my one-on-one clients, one of the things that I do is we really do like a map of your day, and we carve out where are those moments that maybe, if you wake up 5 minutes earlier or if you go to bed 10 minutes later, you guys can have one of these conversations that I've given you, these connecting conversations that can really help you open the lines of communication up even more. So that's what it involves. It involves scheduling. And again, I know it sounds like, well, why should I have to schedule time with my spouse? A lot of people feel that way until they do it. Then they're like, oh my gosh, like what were we doing before? Like, this time together is so valuable and it's made such a difference. So those are some of the solutions that I wanted to share with you. Now listen, if you've heard those solutions and you're like, man, I could really use that. I could really use a process for how to shift my thinking, because guess what? I've been trying it and I still get into this negative cycle of thinking over and over again. The same things trigger me in the same way all the time, and I need some help. I need to just know what to do, right? If that's you, then we should definitely talk about something that I have that I think will really help you. Now, if you are the type of person who really just wants to start having fun with your husband again, it's sort of like, oh, a challenge would be kind of fun for us. Like, that would be kind of awesome to like do these fun things together, get him re-excited, get me re-excited about each other without it feeling like work, right? A lot of times people, when they're working on their marriage, they, consider therapy, and that sounds like work. Sitting for hours, talking about your issues, not having any fun together, sounds like work. My approach is always fun first, the rest will come, because you've got to rebuild that connection. And so if you're like, man, I could use some challenges. I'd like, a period of time where maybe me and my husband have these things that we have to do that motivate us to connect with each other in new ways, then for sure, you probably want to hear about this program that I have. And then the fourth thing, if you're like, man, like my schedule is a mess, I am overwhelmed, I got things falling off my plate every single day, and I can't even tell if I'm coming or going because I just got way too much going on. My husband is the same. Our work schedules are completely opposite. We're like strangers in the night. And maybe it would be helpful to have someone to just sort of look at things with a fresh set of eyes and offer us some perspective. Maybe someone that can tell us some new strategies and ways to carve out time together and what to do in those 5 minutes that we're able to get, or those 10 minutes that we're able to get. Then for sure, you're also going to want to hear about this program that I have. And it's called the 5-Week Marriage Fix. And it includes all of those elements. It includes weekly challenges. It includes training, specifically a step-by-step process for how to shift your thinking about each other, how to stop all the negative thoughts that are, inundating your mind, how to release resentment so that you can sort of break free of some of the things that are holding you back, and how to begin to love that agape, unselfish love, right? So often when we're struggling in our marriages, we begin to focus on ourselves and what we need and what we're not getting, and we don't really look at what we're not giving. And so there's a training that's part of this program that really helps us to start to look more towards that sacrificial love, which God has called us to do anyways. But it shows you how to do that, and there's actually a project you do to demonstrate that, which is a lot of fun. And then there's a strategy session with me where literally we're on the phone and we look at your schedules, we look at what's going on in your lives, we identify the things that maybe can go for this time where you're really focusing on your marriage, and we create those connection points for you where you will actually be able to connect with each other in meaningful ways that don't take a lot of time, but will really look creatively at your schedules and at the hours and minutes you have in the day, and find those moments where you can connect and develop new rituals with each other. So if that sounds like anything you are interested in, I really, really, really want you to check out the program. The link is included with this live stream here. It's on my website at berelatable.com/5-week fix. The program actually starts next week, and I've already got a group of people registered. I would love to have you as part of that program, and check it out, right? Check it out and see if it meets some of the things that you're looking to do. What I love about this program is it provides just the right boost, right? Like if you're on the brink of divorce, you know, you probably need something much more intensive with this program. But if you just like, let me just get started with something, like I don't know what to do, but this sounds like it might help, then I really encourage you to just take a look at the program. Ask me any questions. I can make myself available to answer any questions that you have or that your husband has about the program. It is an excellent opportunity for you guys to do something together that doesn't involve hours and hours of therapy and counseling and sitting and talking about your issues, but it gets you connecting and releasing a lot of the things you need to release so that you can see each other different, so that you can address your connection issues, and so that you can put your marriage on the top of your priority list with excitement, not in ways that make it feel like work to you. So check it out. Let me know what you think, and be sure to ask me any questions. And that's it for today. That's all I wanted to come in and talk with you about, those 3 issues. Make sure you focus in on the area that you need to pay attention to the most. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back with you later. Have a great, great day. Bye.